Okay, folks, we have another Cyber City monthly subscription box. This time I'm going to open the box, we'll review the content, and I'll assemble the kit, and I may modify it, depends on what the kit is. And then I'm going to give you my honest opinion about this month's subscription box. Okay, before I open the subscription box, I'm going to go into some story time. I'll tell you a little story about me when I was a kid. When I was real young, I lived in a very rural part of the state of Georgia. Our closest neighbor was well over a mile away. And my dad and my great-grandfather, well, my dad, he was a real bad alcoholic. And so was my great-grandfather, and they would go off into the woods and make their own liquor, and moonshine, or white whiskey, corn liquor, whatever you would like to call it. And then, as I got a little bit older, my mom got really tired of not being around civilization, so we moved to a suburban neighborhood. And my dad, every opportunity he would get, he would slip off and go to the liquor store and buy liquor. And he continued to drink. And my mom was constantly on him about trying to get him to stop drinking. And every time my dad would leave to go somewhere, my mom would make me go with him. And my dad, he wasn't a very educated person, but he was highly intelligent. He was an incredible technician. He was an engineer. He could do everything. And he knew what was up. He knew why I had to go. So my dad would stop by Radio Shack and bribe me. And we would go in, if he had the money, I could buy a kit, like the little science fair kit, so I'd get a little book or magazine or just, whatever. And then my dad would go to the liquor store, and it was a deal. He's like, well, I took you to Radio Shack, don't tell on me going to the liquor store. My dad would buy 2-pint bottles of liquor. And before he would pull in our neighborhood, my dad would chug a whole pint bottle of liquor, throw it out the car window, and before we get right up to our house, he would open the second bottle and drink about a third of it out. And then when we got to the house, my dad would proceed to tell on himself, and he would tell my mom that he went to the liquor store and he bought 1 bottle of liquor, and he would show her how much he had to drink out of it. Of course, I wouldn't care. I'd run off into my room, especially if I got one of the science kits. So every time I open and I assemble one of these kits, it kind of makes me think about little stuff like that when I was a child. Okay, well, let's open this thing up. At least this month, the United States Postal Service was a little more prompt about delivering. It shipped out on the 16th, and I received it today, which is the 17th. Okay, the first thing we have is a thank you card with all their information again. And also remember to put in Resistor here at their website and 5% off on your next order. So use that promo code. We have Cyber City Circuits sticker. We have an item sheet. Let's see, processor board. Arduino Nano keyboard kit. Did they send us a Arduino Nano this month? your circuit board. I will tell you, these are high quality circuit boards. Looks like all the components are listed on, they're printed on the legend side. It's the solder mask side. Their logo on it. We have a USB cable, and we do have Arduino Nano in it. I'm already liking this kit. We get a 9-volt battery. It's like header pins. Nine-volt battery connector. More header pins. A blue LED. A piezo buzzer. A resistor. Another resistor. And a boatload of switches. I think that's what all of it is. Yep. So I'm thinking this is probably a musical keyboard kit. Yep, tone keyboard kit. Alright. Now I'll put it together and may do some modification on it. We'll see. Okay, I've been inspecting this board mainly to look for quality and also to de-engineer it. I looked over it with a ×20 eye loop. Okay, this board is it's actually really good quality. The legend is legible. The registration is spot on. It's easy to read. Everything is placed perfect. The solder mask on both sides, the registration is perfect on it. There's no skips near the traces, no blurring on the pads. The holes for the through holes on the pads are centered. There's adequate solder all the way around the pads. The etching is smooth. You know, there's adequate spaces in between the traces. Is good use of the ground plane, and even on the pads that are the ground pads, there's small traces running to the ground plane. So when you go to solder, you don't have to heat up the whole ground plane to have solder to flow. Even the layout of the board is really good. I don't know if Cyber City Circuits do those in-house or if they send them to, you know, the different Chinese manufacturers. But you know, today's boards are built a lot better than what they used to be about 20-25 years ago. You don't really see a lot of the problems. You know, usually if boards, if they're made out of good thick material where they don't warp, you really don't run into a lot of issues like you used to, where it's put stress on the traces. You have a lot of the pads trying to come up on you and all that. Okay, what we got going on here is you have 17 push buttons that are feeding in to 9 inputs on your Nano, which means they got the buttons laid out in a matrix, you know, like a grid, which is a really smart way to go about it, so you're not using all of your inputs up. You have an output that is going to your buzzard here, and then you have D13, which is usually your standard LED on your Arduinos, which is driving the LED for this circuit here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get to soldering these push buttons and go ahead and get the the header pins and stuff soldered on. I'm going to show you a little secret. When you're soldering stuff and the components just don't want to stay on. What I like to do is I use this big wedge tip here, and I'll load it up with some solder and then just come back with it and just tack it right in place, and then it should stay, or should. There we go. And then finish soldering it up. Okay, another trick for you when you're doing something like this with the Arduino and you're lining your header pins up, go ahead and stick your male end into the female end. Then line it up with your circuit board. And then place it onto this board. And then come back and tack your corners. And then come up here and tack your corners, and that way you know everything is lined up, and then go and proceed to solder everything up, and then you can pop it off. You'll run into that problem if you do a lot of shields. Okay, I've got almost everything soldered in, except for I don't have this resistor soldered in, and I don't have the buzzard soldered in, nor do I have the 9-volt connector soldered in. So I'm going to do some changes on it. As you can see, I kind of de-engineered it. And this is what I have right here. This is the Nano. We got pins D10 through 12 and also A0 through A5 all go to the push button. Like I said, it's laid out in a matrix. 17 of them. Looks like we get a complete chromatic octave and a half scale out of it. And then down here we have D13, which goes to our LED. Then there is D2, which is going to give our tone out. And normally, well, the way they have it designed is it goes through here and it goes to the buzzer. Except I'm going to change it, because something like this really needs to be a lot louder so it can annoy people. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a larger resistor right here coming out, and then we're going to use emitter follower. I'm going to just probably use a simple NPN transistor, and then I'm actually going to power the Nano just with a 12-volt brick through the USB, and then I'm going to actually power the speaker right here with a 9-volt battery, and I'm going to increase the current going through it, because on the Nano I think you're going to when it creates a tone, it's just a square wave, and then then it just changes the frequency. So instead of just trying to amplify the signal, what I'm just going to do is increase the current. Okay, now I got it all soldered together. Hook this old Sony speaker up to it. Now let's give it a little power and see what happens. Well, move the wires out of the way, and here we go. Oh yeah, that's a lot louder. I think we can work with that. Glory to old Georgia. Okay, now I'm going to give my honest opinion on this kit. Okay, the instructions were real easy. It was a fun kit to put together. All the components worked, didn't have any issues. I think this is a really good kit, especially for somebody who's just starting out. You get a free Arduino Nano with it. I went to their website now and I looked at it. They do offer the code, so you can go in and change it up and peel it around. They also they are linked to what's it called? Disabled veterans who own small business. So that's always something I can get behind. It's $12 a month for this subscription box. You're not going to be able to buy this anywhere else. Not this kit. Not to get a little Arduino Nano and this. Not in the United States. I would highly recommend this. I'm very pleased with it. One thing, anybody's going to modify this, and you put your transistor on here, you really need to be aware of your voltage and your current, because the transistor can get very hot and melt, catch on fire. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you liked it, and subscribe if you want more content. Y'all have a great day.